Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today it's time for Apocalypse Now. Well, Apocalypse in February anyway. The Apocalypse DLC for Battlefield 1 has been revealed on the Battlefield.com website. We've got a whole bunch of new concept exploration images, information on some of the new weapons, and even the new game mode. When you pop onto the website, it says, conquer the climactic battles of the Great War. Fight to the end on the iconic, infamous battlefields of World War I's final days. The first map that they have here is Passchendaele. Once the quiet countryside of Belgium, now a nightmarish landscape of blood and mud. Claw your way across the devastated landscape and huddle for cover in the dugouts and tattered ruins. In World War I, the Battle of Passchendaele was an Allied-led assault designed to overtake the German-held railway that was basically reinforcing the German army. So this is probably one of those battlefields that's going to represent one of those iconic or picturesque, if you will, representations of no man's land. Lots of trees with no branches, lots of mud, those wooden walkways covering this sort of muddy bog. It's going to be a slugfest, and I can't wait to see what true no man's land looks like in a Battlefield 1 map. The next map debuted is Caporetto. Fight in the mountain trenches near the Isonzo River as the Austro-Hungarian forces face off with the Italian army in an uphill climb. In this battle, the Austro-Hungarian army and the Germans attacked the Italians, and they used some relatively new technology, something similar to the Livens projector, which is actually going to be a new stationary weapon in this DLC, so we may see it in this map. It's basically a supersized gas grenade mortar. It shot giant barrels of chlorine gas and other flammable gases, and basically they hit the Italian trenches in the actual battle with a huge amount of this gas, and the Italians knew they could only survive with their gas masks on for about 2 hours, so many of them fled the trenches, but like 500 to 600 died during this massive gas attack. Then the Germans used their stormtroopers, which involved grenadiers and flame troopers, to clear out the rest of the trenches. It sounds like a pretty darn nasty battle, and I can't wait to see how it plays out in Battlefield 1. The third map here is the River Somme. The scenic wheat fields by the Somme River transform into hell on earth from devastating artillery barrages. Not a lot is really explained about this map from the description, but it is part of the massive Somme battle where over 3 million soldiers died. This was one of the bigger battles of World War I, and this is just one particular aspect of it. I'm very curious to see how this really gorgeous looking wheat field might be completely converted into no man's land. It could be a pretty interesting spectacle of the destruction and destructible and transformable environments in the Frostbite engine. Also, we haven't really seen big fields of grass in Battlefield 1 yet, or any Battlefield game. If they incorporate that as a gameplay mechanic, it might be kind of interesting if soldiers are able to go prone in the wheat field and get rid of their spots or try and sneak up on the enemy. This is a mechanic that was quite popular in PUBG for a while, so seeing it come into a Battlefield map would be kind of interesting. Now, those are the only 3 ground-based or traditional style Battlefield maps mentioned in this DLC. However, there are 2 new maps that are built around the new game mode coming out in this DLC, something that people have been excited about for a long time and predicting and waiting for, and that is Air Assault, or as previously known in Battlefield 4, Air Supremacy. Outmaneuver flying foes in cataclysmic dogfights and take on a new game mode. The first map here is one of the maps that you'll see from the single-player campaign the first time that you fly an airplane, and it's called Razor's Edge. Engage in frantic dogfights among snowy peaks as British and German aces fight for control of this intense map. Now, the new Air Assault game mode is described as a rush for ace aviators and sharpshooting gunners. Air Assault takes to the skies where planes collide in a fury of dogfights that could include a climactic face-off with airships. Now, personally, I really enjoy flying in Battlefield 1, and having some maps that are free of anti-aircraft cannons and just focus on dogfighting and shooting down airships sounds like a total blast. The fact that they have airships in this now seems like it's going to have some more interesting objective play around it. I really enjoy the dogfighting and the tail gunning and all that kind of stuff with the new aerial combat, so I cannot wait to see how this game mode plays out. They did not mention the player count of this game mode. I'm hoping for 64. That could be absolutely crazy, but we'll just have to wait and see. Also, if it is 64 players, does that mean there'll be a limit on how many fighters versus attack planes there can be? Like, some of the players are going to have to double up in aircraft, and I'm kind of curious to see how they balance things out. The other map is also from single player. It's called London Calling. With your fellow Knights of the Sky, join the aerial clashes high above the British capital in the new Air Assault game mode. So this is just that other really beautiful sunset map in which you're shooting down airships and stuff in the single player. Looks like it could be another really fun map for multiplayer, and I'm kind of curious to see if they go to town with the volumetric clouds on this map and try and use it as a way of obstructing line of sight. That could be a pretty interesting dynamic, since it was something that existed in actual dogfights, and the Frostbite engine should be capable of volumetric clouds. Now, of course, we can't forget the new weapons. When it comes to melee weapons, desperate times call for desperate measures. Use melee weapons like a brutal meat cleaver or a handy pry bar when the action gets close and personal. This looks brutal, but like a lot of fun. Hopefully DICE will implement more abilities like barbed wire destruction, as they haven't really done that with a lot of their DLC melee weapons, and that's why I still use the standard hatchet from the base game, because it has the ability to break down barbed wire. I'd like to see that implemented in some of the new melee weapons, so I can consider using those instead. As for firearms, there are 6 new ones, wheeled firearms like the Shosha Ribby Rolls SMG, and 5 other unique weapons. Other EA brand safe YouTubers were actually invited to an early access capture event in which they were able to determine what these new weapons were. The Assault does get access to the new Shosha SMG, then the Scout gets 2 new rifles, a Ross Mark III Marksman and an M1917 Enfield, which is the American Enfield. Then we also have the Medic Howl rifle, and the support is getting the LMG 0818 low weight, and then there's also going to be a universal sidearm revolver. New gadgets. Dominate the opposition with gadgets like the anti-aircraft rocket gun for the Assault class. Assist airborne teammates and deliver serious damage to enemy aircraft. This is one of those things that was demoed in CTE a little while back. I think we were expecting to see it in the Turning Tides DLC, then all of a sudden it disappeared. Looks like DICE was still working on it or just saving it for the Apocalypse DLC. This is going to be one of the more game-changing gadgets. I'm really surprised that DICE is including it this late in the game, because it could really change aerial and infantry warfare across all the maps of Battlefield 1, and I'm very curious to see how it changes the overall balance. Then we also have some new aircraft. Pilot 2 new bombers on the Caporetto map, the Hansa Brandenburg GI and the Airco DH-10. Both of these aircraft seem to be more like typical 3-seat bombers. We're not getting anything too interesting on this front. Unfortunately, I was hoping to see some more interesting 2-seater aircraft that maybe mixed up the attack plane gameplay a little bit, or maybe some new fighters that had different loadouts or something like that. Something to spice up the aerial gameplay just a little bit, I think, would be interesting. But these ones will probably play out very similar to the pre-existing bombers. Now, as for the other information there, I already lightly mentioned the new Livens projector. That will be a new stationary weapon coming with this DLC. The description reads, based on tactics used during the Battle of Caporetto, smother your enemy in a cloud of poisonous gas with the all-new Livens projector. Now, here's the interesting thing about the Livens projector being in the game, is that Livens actually also developed the massive gargantuan flamethrower used to clear out trenches during World War I as well. And I have a feeling that DICE is sort of holding out on us with that one, and maybe they'll show it off in one of the new DLC maps or something like that. That would be really cool. I'm still got my fingers crossed that DICE is going to put the epic flamethrower in the game. Hopefully it'll be with this DLC and they're not saving it for something later down the line. But Livens, same designer. If they're going to put his gas projector in there, they may as well put the super flamethrower as well. Naturally, there's going to be new assignments for weapon unlocks and new specializations. Here's the weird thing with the new specializations. They're calling the new type of specialization afflictions. This is the description. For pro players keen to show off their skill in any situation, afflictions will hamper your soldier in various ways. Activate Mortal to lose 500 score for each respawn, or challenge yourself with Paranoia and play with the gas mask on constantly. I don't fully understand what these new specializations are being put in the game for. I consider myself to be a pretty high level player, and I would never want to use any of these. Either this is DICE running out of ideas, or they have some weird special game mode designed around them. But I can tell you this, I'm not going to be trying to unlock any of these new affliction specializations to give myself a handicap that other players don't have. Seems very weird to me. And then, of course, there's new dog tags, service stars, codex, entries, medals, and ribbons, and all that kind of stuff, so you can keep working on the natural, relatively boring BF1 progression. That being said, this DLC does excite me. The 3 new maps that they've mentioned so far look very cool, and then the 2 new aerial maps are really exciting for me. Granted, if you don't fly, this DLC might not sound quite as exciting overall, but for me, I'm quite excited. I can't wait to see what these massive air superiority maps play out like. I think this is the perfect setting. The World War I setting is the perfect setting for air supremacy, so I just can't wait to check it out. Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated on any new information coming out about the DLC. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.